Here we go.
Yo, what's going down, y'all? It's your homie Jay Green. Right now, I'm about to give y'all my thoughts and my feelings on the long-awaited, highly anticipated Michael. Now, if you don't know, this movie is directed by Antoine Fuqua, the same cat that brought Denzel Washington his first Academy Award win.
My nigga.
And it stars his nephew, Jafar Jackson, playing Michael, the beautiful Nia Long, the amazing Colman Domingo. We got the great Miles Teller, a nice cameo from Lorenz Tate, Kellen Jones, and we even got Austin Powers up in this thing.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Now that one threw me and was a pleasant surprise. Now for all y'all out there who have no idea what Michael could possibly be about, I gotta ask, what the hell have y'all been doing with yourselves? In my lifetime, there's only been so many things that have been around for so long that I have not known life without them. Star Trek, The Simpsons, and Michael Jackson, just to name three. These were staples in the Green household growing up. Michael Jackson is to pop culture what Elon Musk is to generational wealth. Y'all should know who the fuck this is and what this movie is probably about. Not to mention that leading up to this movie, we've already had a plethora of Michael Jackson and or Jackson 5 movies and or biopics. We got Moonwalker, The Jacksons, An American Dream, Michael Jackson, This Is It, Man in the Mirror, A Michael Jackson Story, Michael Jackson, Searching for Neverland, Michael Jackson, The Life of an Icon, and now this. Now that being said, this movie is basically chronicling Michael Jackson's youth into adulthood and let's just say his rise to fame and popularity within the Jackson 5 and then his departure from the Jackson 5, his departure from a business relationship and even kind of father-son type relationship from his dad, Joe Jackson, into being his own man. Now, did Antoine Fuqua and team do a great job? What are my thoughts and feelings on this movie? The jury is out. I am not 100% sure. For me, this is a huge mixed bag, and let me tell you why. Number one, I don't think this movie actually centered on the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Jackson enough for me beyond what I already know about Michael Jackson. After watching this movie, I feel like this movie should have been called Joe Jackson and the Jackson 5. Maybe it should have been called Making the Band The Jacksons. Indiana, Money Never Sleeps. Motown's Peter Pan. We Bought a Zoo. American Idol, the movie, or maybe even The Jackson 5 and the fantabulous emancipation of Little Michael. I feel like this movie was all over the place. It gave you a lot of elements that you may have heard of or even seen in previous documentaries, miniseries, or movies about Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, but it never really dove very deep into any one of those elements to the point where it gave us more knowledge and nuance and understanding of what living a life like that, having no childhood, a father that beat your ass just because you was tired, wanting to put on your jammies and watch some cartoons before bed, would do to your mind, your heart, your emotions, your interactions with other people. What was it like to not have friends and to be so famous at such a young age? This movie didn't really give you anything more than what we've already heard of or read in articles. So based on being a musical biopic that was supposed to be groundbreaking, I'd have to say that this movie just relied on playing Michael Jackson's hits. And even that was mediocre for me. Now, it feels weird to say that there's things in this movie that did or didn't work for me, given the fact that this is supposed to be history, right? So I can't necessarily say, oh, I didn't like where the story went here or a story went there. This is supposed to be a true telling of Michael's life and his upbringing, so on and so forth. But the things that I found weird or interesting that did pull me out of the story was, number one, Joe Jackson was a dick and a tyrant, if you will. This guy was almost like a Fred Krueger or a Jason Voorhees, a Mike Myers type. You think you kill him and then he keeps coming right the fuck back. This dude is a nightmare. And apparently, he's only beaten up on Michael. He ain't beaten up on anybody else. There's a pretty nice little age difference between his brothers of the Jackson 5 and him. And it almost felt as though he had some sort of resentment specifically towards Michael, as if none of the other brothers ever were combative in any way, shape, or form. So not getting a lot of development in regards to the relationship between the dad and the other brothers aside from Michael, and or the mom, Michael, and the dad, and what was that actual family dynamic like? Because as soon as Michael was getting hands on him, everybody just kind of looked down and went the other direction. And that was just like how they lived. But then in the movie, later on, they want to act like, oh, we're so sad and we're so sorry that that had happened to you. Well, where the fuck was y'all at when it was jumping off? So that family dynamic, I feel, could have been brought to the forefront a little bit more and developed a little bit better. These are things that we've heard of over time. Now is your opportunity to tell that story. And the way that he was raised in that household was so paramount to what he became later in life. Going into this movie, I'm thinking to myself, well, we know Michael dipped out from the Jackson 5. What did his brothers think about that? How did that affect their relationship, if at all? Was it negative? Was it positive? Were they very envious, resentful? Who knows what? The movie portrays them all as a happy, loving family, except for the dad. But again, I would have liked to have gotten more of his interactions with his brothers. Obviously, when he was with the Jackson 5, I'm super young. I don't remember none of that. That was like before my time. So for me to cover a little bit of new ground, I would have liked to have seen what were their relationships like? What was the conversations like when he did want to leave? How did they actually feel? Was there any resentment? Did he have to kind of say, hey, you know what, guys, I love y'all to death, but I just got to do my own thing. Maybe they were reluctant, but then eventually they backed him up. Like, what was that like? We didn't really get any of that. In the movie, he has one or two random conversations with LaToya before she probably hits that Playboy mansion. I didn't see Janet at all in this damn movie. Now, I get that there's about a 6 to a 7 year age gap between Michael and Janet, but still, we know that this movie is about to be a two-parter, and it says at the end, no spoilers, but his story will continue because this movie pretty much ends right as he's coming out with Bad, so we know there's more to come, but there's no mention of Janet. She had to have been around. I understand she's the little sister, but even the Wayans brothers put Kim in their movies from time to time. But it seems like this movie just wanted to erase her from existence. And again, because this movie is so focused heavily on Joe Jackson, his management styles, and his motivations, I kind of feel like Joe Jackson is like the archetype for every angry coach, parent, manager, or even mentor to some of our greatest athletes and stars in films based on the way that he's acting. Either that or Antoine Fuqua and the writers just literally copy and pasted what they've seen before and put it into this character. So I feel like we're not really covering any new ground. We're just painting this guy as the demon into a villain. However, everyone is just riding along with him except for Michael. The whole family is cool with this dude throughout the entire film. Only in the end does Michael's mom ever say anything, and I'm wondering, where were you at the first 10 to 15 years of this dude's life while he was getting his ass handed to him? So does mother really know best? I don't know. Now, as I said before, this movie pretty much chronicles Michael from being a young guy in the Jackson 5 all the way into being his own person. We're talking about after the Thriller album, kind of into Bad. Now, I heard one time Deon Cole, who's actually in this movie playing Don King, right? And I thought he did great. But I heard one time Deon Cole tell a story about how he met Paul McCartney at one of his shows. And backstage, they were telling some stories, and Paul McCartney was telling him about Michael Jackson and how they were super tight. Now, if you know anything about Michael Jackson and you know anything about the Thriller album, Paul McCartney is the same dude that's speaking on the Thriller song, talking about darkness falls across the land, yada, yada, yada. Paul McCartney is also the one that Michael is singing with in The Girl Is Mine. He's all over that album. We didn't see any of that in this movie. And one of my biggest gripes with this film is we're not getting some of those legendary behind the scenes stories or moments in Michael's life. We're getting surface level things that have already been addressed time and time again. Because Deon Cole tells a story about how Paul McCartney was telling Michael, hey man, you gotta own your masters. It's very important if you really want to make it in this business, make money for yourself, you gotta own those masters. And if you think about legendary Paul McCartney, the Beatles, what they know, business savvy, all of that, telling this young man who's trying to become his own person at this time, telling him that, how dope would that have been to kind of see that conversation play out? And then knowing the brilliance and the genius of Michael, he's going to turn around and go buy the Beatles masters? Y'all didn't know that? That would have been pretty fly to have in this movie. but we don't get any of that. So it's those types of things that make me wonder, what story are you trying to tell? I get it, it's a movie. You're not gonna please everyone. There's gonna be people on one side of the fence who really are gonna be upset if you don't address any of the negative sides of Michael. You're gonna have people that only wanna hear the good with none of the bad. So I get it, you gotta kind of ride that line and find out what's gonna work best. But again, this is a movie that you're making. This is not a straight documentary. It's a narrative story of someone's life. And if you want, you can give us some of the negative. You can also give us some of the catalyst to what might have led to that negative. And you can also give us some of the backstory to this person's brilliance and their genius and how they literally changed the world on a cultural level. And I feel like this movie just kind of showed you this and showed you that without developing any of the nuance that was Michael Jackson. So by that standard, I'm disappointed. Now, of course, this movie is about Michael Jackson, and you're getting some dope Michael Jackson music. You're seeing some amazing dance skills from his nephew, Jafar. This dude was electric. This guy was fire. He was great as Michael. I don't know if he's ever had any acting roles before this, but I think he did a phenomenal job in this film. So hats off, kudos to him. Jafar Jackson killed it in this role. Everything that all the actors were given, they did great with it. The acting is phenomenal from top to bottom. There's nobody that I'm looking at in this movie like, I didn't believe him or whatever. Now, everyone was great. Coleman Domingo, standout. Mike Myers playing the record label exec for CBS. I didn't even realize that was him. I'm like, why does that guy look so familiar? He doesn't sound like Mike Myers has ever sounded before. He doesn't look like Mike Myers. You have to really, really look, right? He like disappears into this role. It's a short scene, but a dope scene. And that also brings up another thing. The reason he's in this movie is because when Michael is doing his own thing with Thriller and Billie Jean and all that sort of stuff, they're going to this guy saying, yo, we need to get on MTV. And apparently at this time, MTV wasn't trying to play black artists for reasons. You can imagine reasons, right? And it would have been really nice to have seen more of that development of how Michael opened the doors to black artists getting on MTV. None of that in this movie. So not only do you have, in my opinion, a standout performance from Mike Myers playing this record exec, which is a very entertaining and probably one of the best scenes in the entire film, right? But we don't even get more to what they fought to get done. So because that was the only nugget of struggle for Michael, aside from getting away from his dad, which he doesn't really get away from him, you know what I'm saying? It's his family. But that was the only real nugget of challenge that he had to overcome in this particular portion of his story that they're telling. It reminds me of like a Bohemian Rhapsody, where for me personally, I didn't feel like Freddie Mercury, at least in the way that that movie went, for me, I didn't see him going through any struggle. He had some trials and tribulations, he had some issues, yes, but the resolve came pretty easy, right? We don't see Michael coming up with the genius that is Thriller. Not even the album, not even the actual songs themselves. He's literally just looking at a board with names already to the song and just being like, yeah, okay, this beat sounds fly. I'm gonna put that here and I'm gonna put that there. He's literally already got the names of the songs and he's just moving post-it notes like, all right, I'm gonna put this one here, I'm gonna put that one there. Thriller, the video was filmed by John Landis, legendary John Landis, right? You know the name, okay? We're not seeing him actually pitching this idea to the record execs. He's not pitching this idea to John Landis. Why does John Landis want to do this? There should be, for me personally, you're bringing this live to the big screen. Give me more behind some of these classic, iconic songs and videos that blew Michael's career into the stratosphere. You're not giving me anything more. You're just throwing the song out here or there. And at the same time, make it a little bit more theatrical for 2026. These videos are already super theatrical, but with Antoine Fuqua directing, you can make them a bit more stylized. I feel like the movie is just giving us the greatest hits without adding more to it. I can get just as much entertainment watching Chris Brown do his renditions of some Michael Jackson music, random dancers on Instagram doing their renditions of his dances to his music, or just watching, clips of his videos in general. So those are the things that really didn't work for me for the film. So that's why I'm like, up in the air because I feel like all the acting being so great, some motivations and nuance was there with some people, and they really did a good job with Antoine Fuqua's direction. The movie looks phenomenal. Of course, it sounds phenomenal. The songs are dope. So you're not gonna go into this theater, whether the story fit your cup of tea or not, and not bob your head or stomp your feet just a little bit and want to get up and dance. It's fucking Michael Jackson, let's be real, okay? But that doesn't mean it's a good movie. You dig what I'm saying? Some people are gonna go out there, they're just gonna shut their brain off and enjoy the music, and to them, they're gonna be like, oh, this movie's great. So if you're the type of person that just wants to hear some Michael Jackson greatest hits with some dope dance skills on the big screen with great sound system, then this movie might be for you. But if you're someone like myself who's grown up with Michael Jackson, or you kind of fell in with Michael Jackson later in life, maybe you're a little bit on that younger side, you want to know a little bit more about the man, about the myth, about the legend, how he came to be, the doors that he opened, his creative brilliance and genius, and how he actually got things done and opened doors, and this movie's really not going to be for you. You're going to be kind of disappointed. Hate to tell you that. This movie, when I heard it was coming out, I was like, easily $1 billion. I don't know so much anymore. Again, it just depends what's your flavor, what's your cup of tea. Do you want real narrative story for someone as iconic as Michael Jackson, or just music? It'll be interesting to see where the second movie goes. I heard rumor on the street was that the original movie that they were gonna come out with was gonna be bookended with some of those allegations and some trial type stuff. But evidently, when the studio brought the script to the estate of Michael Jackson, they were like, oh yeah, it's good, boom, they signed off on it. But then when they actually filmed those things in the movie and then showed it to the estate, they're like, oh wait, no, actually we can't put those things in there. So I wonder if the next movie is gonna have some more allegations, is it gonna go a little bit more of a negative and a little bit more of a drama route, or is it just gonna give us more hits with less development, less nuance, less thought-provoking, introspective looks into Michael Jackson, the person? I don't know. But yo, was this movie on your radar? Did you check it out? How do you feel about it? What do you think about Michael Jackson, all the other iterations of his biopics, his movies, things of that nature? And do you think that this movie has done him justice? As I said before, I know that I'm mixed on this movie. I'm not gonna say that I like it a lot or I didn't like it at all. It had things that I did like, it had things that I didn't like. It was a mixed bag. I'll probably still purchase it on Blu-ray or 4K. It wasn't that bad, but I definitely was disappointed. What say y'all? Comment below. Your homie, Jay Green. I'm out.